from Dallas, Texas, as we've got the rematch of one of the biggest shocks in MMA history when Juliana took the belt off Amanda in kind of destructive fashion. Starting this half an hour early because I've got the time to do so. So I apologise if you're still waiting around for that extra half hour, but I need to get this going here. This card to me is full of landmines. There's some matchups on here I am not comfortable in predictions. There is some fighters here that I don't think belong in the UFC. It's a little bit of a weird card. I don't think it's the strongest pay-per-view they've ever put on, in all honesty. But again, it's another fight card that we try and get through here. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. If I could just ask everyone to please throw a like on the video. That's all I ask for. Just throw a like on there. Let's see if we can try and get to 100 likes. That'd be something I've not done in a long, long time. So please throw a like on the video, and I appreciate any questions that come my way. I'm going to do a little bit better of answering questions. I've just been too busy to really get back to you on that, but I will get back to you as soon as I can. Coming off a small loss last week, kind of got lucky with Curtis Blades, with Tom Aspinall getting injured there, so that kind of went my way, considering I went the other way with Ortega the other night there, or the week beforehand, and he got injured as well. Parlays just really kind of cost me last week. Hit some good straight plays, and yeah, it was an okay night. I kind of went even for the weekend with Cage Warriors and Bellator as well, so not too bad. I have 2 bets. I was going to have 3 bets for this week. 2 bets for UFC 277. I was going to have one for Dana White's Contender Series, but just seen the guy I was going to bet, Farid Basharat, who was pretty high, like minus 225. I was going to bet him, but just seen that his opponent weighed in 10 pounds over the limit. So I don't think that fight's going to get put together. So just the 2 bets, I'll talk about them as I go through here. So I'm kind of going off what Topology has here. Starting off in the welterweight division with the Ryan Kosei against Blood Diamond Mike Matherla. I mean, this is, again, a landmine because I don't trust the Ryan Kosei. I don't trust any of the Kosei brothers. Blood Diamond really isn't in the UFC on really merit. He's in the UFC because he's Israel Adesanya's boy, and very inexperienced and kind of in the MMA game here. But he is a very good, talented striker, which if you stand with this guy, then you're putting yourself at danger of getting hit with something big. But you could see in his first fight against Jeremiah Wells that you can come in here and oh, my topologies went down. That's not great. We'll go back there. Yeah, there we go there. That if you can get this guy to the ground, establish top position, be dominant there, you will find a submission in this guy. Now, when you look at a Ryan Kosei, I mean, he's got a kind of questionable record as well. Him and his brother fought a lot of 50-50 kind of fighters in the UFC. Not in the UFC, in the regionals coming into the UFC. They were just kind of running through anybody they could kind of get their hands on the regional scene, and it was ending pretty viciously for them. And then when they come into the UFC, it's turned out that it's not been to their liking a little bit. They've struggled a little bit. Ryan Kosei, to me, I think he's been all right. I think my internet might go down, guys. I might have to restart this because I've got a funny feeling this is going to crash on me in any minute because everything's coming up. And I can't even see the card really, what's going on here. Saying that, it's just came back. We'll run through it. We'll run with it. We'll see if we can stick with it here. But all the sites are saying it can't be reached, which is a little bit of a problem. But I'll go with what I see here. Like I say, not entirely impressed with Kosei. Should have the advantage if he can get the fight to the ground on the feet. But I'm a little bit kind of worried that the Koski brothers are a little bit kind of meathead fighters that really don't think things through all too well. And make kind of bad decisions in the cage, and we've seen that they come out swinging big, at least on his brother's side. I think of the 2 brothers, I do think Orion is the better brother personally. But would it surprise me if he comes out here and wants to kind of stand and bang with someone like Mathela here? No, I wouldn't. Like I said, I want no part of this fight kind of betting-wise. I am going to lean on the Kosei side. Just for the simple reason, I think that if he gets this fight to the ground, he can be dominant there, he can stay active with ground and pound. And Mathela showed me nothing about getting off his back and not stopping submissions. So I'm going to lean on the Ryan Kosei side here. I think he gets it done inside the distance, maybe late second, early third round. It might be the last we ever see a kind of blood diamond in the UFC. Moving on to the 205-pound division, we've got Nick Moreno against Ihor Potieria. I think this Ihor Potieria guy, 22 record, I think he's a bit of a fraud. And I don't really call fighters all like that all too much frauds or whatever. But this guy's record screams fraudulent to me. I remember, I think I counted up, it was like 76 and 84 of the opponents before the Dana White Contender Series. That was his record for like 20 fights. And also, if you look at his record, it's 20-2. But it says he had amateur fights in 2019, which he lost one of them as well. It said he's been a pro since 2015, but he's had 3 amateur fights, which were in 2019, which he lost one of them. So I'm a little bit intrigued with that. What I've seen of him, I'm just not overly impressed with what I see, in all honesty. I think that he's just got himself into kind of the spot there where he's going to the Dana White Contender Series, beating kind of bad guys on the regionals out there, and got himself an opportunity. Won his fights in the Dana White Contender Series, got a finish. If you can do that, for the most part, you're going to come in there and you're going to win a contract for the most part, and that's kind of what he did there. Moreno, at least with him, it's difficult even picking. I've seen people betting him. I actually think he's not a bad bet at the odds that he's at. But for me, I just can't pick this Potieria guy. I think he's a bit of a fraud. I think he could get found out here, but then you're trying to find confidence in what you see from Moreno. He is 12-1. He is coming off a really good split decision win over Kennedy and Suchuku, which I thought he fought a really fun fight. Not a fun fight, a close fight. But I think the higher ceiling of the two fighters is Kennedy, and I think he showed that last time out. He can kind of do a little bit of everything, but sometimes he just doesn't show up. I don't think he fully showed up in that fight, and Moreno really came in there and kind of took advantage of that, kept the rounds close, fought quite long, landed the shots we need to, and just kind of won. It was very, very close. It really could have went either way there. But for me, like I say, I'm seeing some love for Nick Moreno. I don't mind that one bit. I actually really do. I think that is the side that I would be picking. There's no way I'd be laying chalk on this Potieria guy. But then you look at Nick and you're like, it's hard to really lay your money down on him, at least for me. But he might have to be the play this week because I think he's a very good dog. I've got some dogs on this card that I like. This is kind of the second one out of the probably 3 or 4 that I do like. So I'm going to pick him to win. I think he can win via stoppage late. I think he can win via decision. I think rounds can be played out very, very close in his fights, and he seems to really take most of those rounds as well. So I'm going to take Moreno. I'm going to pick him via 3rd round stoppage. I think it might be a little bit of a slop fest, but I think he will get the opportunity to finish the fight here. If not, I think he wins out of a pretty, I don't want to say an easy decision because, like I say, they're both, I think, kind of lower caliber guys. But Moreno is going to be my side there that I'm going to run with this week. Ji Yeon Kim against Jocelyn Edwards. Like I say, I'll be looking up some of the stats here, guys, but everything is still down. I don't know if I'm even still live with you guys, which I'll be interesting to see here. But Ji Yeon Kim is someone I thought she might have did okay in the UFC, and she's really just kind of petered out, and really she's probably fighting for a job at this point after 3 losses. And she's coming in here against Jocelyn Edwards, who I actually thought fought a really good fight last time out. She predominantly used a lot of kicks in that last fight, and really, I thought it looked probably as good as she has in the UFC. And she's coming back in here in very, very kind of, I don't want to say short notice, but the fight's been put together pretty quick. I think it was only like 5 weeks ago she fought in that fight there. She did take a couple of licks kind of late on in that fight, but I think it was the Ramona Pascual fight. where I thought if Ramona really used her grappling, she could have easily won that fight. But I think Edwards actually showed some decent takedown defense in spots. She like the clinch work. I thought she was a lot improved. She had improved like our physical strength, which I was surprised at because I thought Ramona was definitely going to get some takedowns in there somewhere, but she never did. She kind of fought her heart out. She had a lot of output in that fight, and like I said, it mostly kind of came from kicks. She would go low. She went to the body. She was maintaining a good range where Pascual really wasn't able to get her hands on her to establish those takedowns. But when she did, she fought them off pretty well and ended up winning the decision there. Ji Young Kim, like I say, she's someone that I thought she was going to play out a little bit better than what she has. So I'm a little bit kind of 50-50 with this fight. I was kind of leaning the dog a little bit, but I don't know. I think maybe just the overall volume with the punches and the kicks from Edwards might be enough. But you know what? I'm going to go with my initial gut feeling on the play, and I'm going to go with Ji Young Kim. I'm going to pick her via a very close decision. Use that range because she is quite long for the ladies 125 division, the flyweight division. But like I say, I can see these rounds being super close. I can see the fight being super close here. I'll lean Ji Young Kim as a dog play. Not super confident. Like I say, there's landmines in this card, and this is one of them probably. But as a pick, if I was given money to bet on this, I would take a shot in the dog. But I don't think I'll have any play on this card, on this fight in specifically. Michael Morales against Adam Fugit. I think Michael Morales looks like he could be a really, really good prospect, and he showed that against Trevin Giles last time out. He was the one. I picked Trevin Giles for that fight card, and I made that video on the Monday. But as I was watching more of Morales through the week, I really started to change my tune on the pick specifically. And I thought to myself, right, this guy's, I think he could potentially be really, really good. He kind of gives me, I don't want to say Chito Vera vibes, but I think he's one of these guys that I think he fights out of Mexico, like the Tijuana gym. But I think once he gets more experience being in the UFC, being comfortable in the UFC, rounding out his skills, I think he could become a really, really solid fighter at 170 pounds. But we just kind of have to wait and see. Fugit wasn't super impressed with what I've seen on the kind of regional scene there. He's come off that win over Solomon Renfro as a guy that he was kind of being a little bit hyped up last year in the Dana White Contender Series, and he's lost a couple of fights since. I think, I don't know where the line is. I think I've seen a minus 500 on Michael Morales. I think it's justified. I think he comes in here. I think he handles this dude comfortably, and we'll kind of see him going forward there. But he's a guy that you have to keep a close eye on because I think he's got all the potential to really move himself into being a pretty solid fighter in this division. But again, it's still his only second fight in the UFC, and we have to kind of really see what's kind of going on with him there. Drakkar Klose against Rafa Garcia. This is all the makings of being a close fight, I think, because Rafa Garcia, I think when he fights at his optimum, I think he's a really tough fighter to face. Drakkar Klose, I think a guy's a little bit underrated. I think when you watch some of his interviews I have, and he feels perpetually kind of underrated a little bit. He's had some decent wins in the UFC. This was supposed to be a fight against Carlos de Gofera, which I think would have been a good fight for him. I think Garcia is really tough. I'm kind of having a hard time reading this. Like, Drakkar Klose is minus 220. A guy that can do a little bit of everything, got a little bit of power in his hands. He's got that wrestling. Solid fighter across 15 minutes, keeps a good pace. And he's hard to kind of touch up a little bit. Not unless you're Beneil Dariush. He hurt Benny in that fight, and then he got taken out. But he's a guy that I was like, right, minus 220, that falls into a parlay piece for me. I went into watching a little bit of Rafa Garcia, and I just think that he's a really hard-nosed, he's just one of those prototypical kind of Mexican fighters, isn't he, that comes out there, really puts it together, really comes forward, pressures you, can be kind of kept at distance a little bit where he can be hurt with the kind of long long jabs there, but he likes to come in and he likes to rip to the body a little bit, try and get his hands on you, maybe take you down. I don't think he's going to do that against Drakkar Klose here. And that's kind of where I'm leaning on that, is the fact that I think Drakkar Klose is just a little bit more experienced against a little bit better guys than Rafa Garcia. But do I think the line should be closer? I was like, yeah, I think that maybe Drakkar should maybe be minus 175 in this spot, maybe not your minus 225. So does that constitute value in Rafa Garcia? I know some people out there have bet him, and they've came to me speaking about this fight in particular. I don't think I want really anything to do with this fight, putting money on it. So I'm going to lean on the Drakkar Klose side, but I don't mind a shot in Garcia if you think that he can make it ugly, gritty, get in there, stop takedowns, find the chin of Drakkar Klose, because that's what he will have to do to win this fight. But I'm going to lean on the Klose side there. Don'Tale Mayes against Hamdi Abdul Wahab. I like Don'Tale Mayes in this one here. I'm seeing a little bit of love out there for Hamdi. Everyone's going about this Egyptian Olympic wrestler and this and that and thinking it's a big thing. Now, if he's got a specific skill set that he can use and use it to his effect with his wrestling, I think he's a Greco-Roman wrestler, then that'd be great for the division if he can get constant takedowns, be heavy on top, but obviously just get those takedowns and be the one that's not being the one in the dominating position. When I watched these fights on, I think it was Icon FC, which is Masvidal's promotion on Fight Pass, I'm just not really sold on him. But then you go over to the other side and Don'Tale Mayes, and maybe Hamdi's coming in here a little bit too soon. I would like to see him get more experience. He probably is the same. He'd like a little bit more experience at a couple more fights, maybe Dana White's Contender Series, and go from there. But like I say, you go over at the other side, Don'Tale Mayes, it's hard to really be super confident in him. But what I do like is the fact he's had a ton of experience. He's on a win streak in the UFC. He came through Dana's show, lost there, or might have won, and then beat Mitchell Sipe, I remember, and then got his opportunity in the UFC. And like I say, he's won a couple of fights, beat Josh Parisian. I kind of like what I see from the Don'Tale Mayes side, and I'm kind of intrigued by a bet on him, which I'm a little bit surprised on. When I was watching Hamdi, it was screaming at me that it's a little bit too early in his UFC career, or just too early in general to be in the UFC. So Don'Tale Mayes might be playing. It's something I'm trying to work on, is me saying things like, this guy's not great, but then like moving over to Don'Tale and saying that he's not that good, and kind of writing off the fight in general. I need to get better at looking at those spots and taking shots on guys I think have got more experience, maybe more ways to win the fight, and not just kind of write the guy off just because of what you see in the past or what you think you might see. These guys are always going to be progressing. We might see more from Hamdi here. He will look for takedowns, but Don'Tale Mayes has been in there with Cyril Gane. He's been in there with some decent guys, and he's fought his heart out. That's enough for me. He's minus 138 here in the UK right now. If I'm going to bet him, it'll need to be in the next 24 hours, because I don't know where this line's going to go. It was interesting to see that he opened as an underdog as well, did Mayes. I'd like to have gotten the underdog odds if I looked at it soon enough, but I didn't. But I'm going to pick him to win via TKO in the kind of mid to late part of this fight, if not a decision. So Mayes is my pick there. Drew Dober against Rafael Alves. This is a good fight for the simple reason that Alves, I think these two are going to go each other. They're not going to sit back and just kind of a staring contest. I think these two are going to come forward and look to really go at one another. And that puts obviously Drew Dober at danger, because I think Rafael Alves is a very explosive guy. We've seen that in the Diakese win, where he hit him with a massive shot, the flying knee, I think it was, got in there, got a submission and took him out. And he's got that early on. I don't see him having that massive ability to land shots in rounds 2 and 3 against a guy in Drew Dober who takes shots very well, fought some really tough guys and top guys at 155, and it's accumulated a lot of experience in the UFC. I know there's legit guys out there that are on Rafael Alves. They think they're going to catch Drew Dober. I mean, Drew last time out against Terence McKinney, they guys went back and forward. He got hurt, McKinney got hurt, Eventually, Drew found a way to win that fight, come through. I thought it was a really good win on his side because McKinney he'll mark some dudes in the UFC going forward. But he did come in there on short notice as well. I'm leaning more on the Drew Dober side. I think he might take some shots. I think he eats them. But I think as the fight progresses, he's the one that's going to be landing more. He's the one that's going to be winning more minutes throughout the fight. And that's kind of where I'm leaning on in that one there is Drew Dober. But I think it was plus 200 for a shot on Rafael Alves. It's not bad odds if you have a little look at that. But Dober is the side I'm picking. I don't think he'll be having any action on the fights, not unless drastically changes throughout the week. But Dober is my pick there. Alex Morono against Matt Semelsberger. Another one I think which is going to be really close. And I'm leaning on the Alex Morono side. But I can kind of see a path to victory for Matt Semelsberger if he can use his grappling. I think he can wrestle Alex Morono here, which kind of could play in the hands of Morono a little bit. He's not like a high tariff jiu-jitsu guy that will subdue as soon as you put him in his back. He'll throw up a triangle. He is a black belt. He has shown that he's got some moves down the ground. But I think if I'm him, I want to keep this on the feet, try and just outland him and kind of win close rounds. That helps being in Texas, being a local guy, because we know Texas judges are freaking terrible. They're not good whatsoever. Semelsberger's a guy that's actually impressed me. I bet him a couple of times in the UFC. Took a couple of hard losses, but I think he's fought his heart out, really put it all on the line. I think that if he was to wrestle consistently here, I think he's the stronger guy that could get Morono down. I think on the feet, Semelsberger hits harder, but Morono's a guy I've always kind of, I don't want to say written off a little bit, but he's a guy that always, when at the end of his fights and I've seen him win, I'm like, damn, I went against him again and he proved me wrong. So this is probably the time I go and Alex Morono and Matt Semelsberger will have the performance of a lifetime. That's usually what kind of happens. I see this being a close fight over 15 minutes. I think the rounds will be close with strikes. I do think Semelsberger will try and grapple, maybe clinch up against the cage, try and win some minutes through that. I'm going to go Morono via split decision. Not super confident, but I think it plays out pretty close, so that's where I'm going there. Magomed, Ankalaev, we're on to the main card now, guys. Magomed, Ankalaev against Anthony Smith here. It's hard really to look away from the side of Magomed, Ankalaev. In all honesty, I think that Anthony Smith, in my opinion, I think he's definitely in the last couple of fights of his career. I think if he lost this one, would it surprise me if he walked away? Not one bit. He's got a little bit of a broadcasting gig with the UFC, a little bit of that, which I think is great for him, obviously, to have a future outside of just calling fights, of fighting actually. And I actually think he does a fairly good job. Not my favourite analyst you'll ever see out there, but I think he does a sound enough job. He's got enough experience in the cage. Went all the way, fought the best 205 was ever seen in John Jones, knocked out Gustafsson. He did some things at 205 which I wouldn't have given him the credit for. I didn't think he would do all that. But fair play to the dude. He's come out there and did well for himself, and he's forged a career outside of just his fight. And he's a good guy to listen to talk about breaking down fights. I just think Ankalaev is... I think he's the guy to go and fight for the belt as soon as we get to Shearer and what's his name? Prohaska. Once we get out the road, I think it could be Ankalaev against Jamal Hill if he wins his fight against Thiago Santos. I think that's the logical fight to make up at that division, up the top of that division. I think Ankalaev's just a little bit too good everywhere. I think he can mix it up. I think he's striking. He can hurt Anthony Smith with his kicks. Smith's a guy that's going to come forward and look to swing and land bombs anyway. But I think Magomed will just mix up a little bit. I really do. I think this will be the fight where he does enough on the feet, he outlands him, gets him down, be dominant down there for minutes of the fight, and then eventually I think he could get a finish later on. I think it's more likely going to be a decision. So I'm going to go Magomed, Ankalaev to win that one there. I'm going to jump into the chat to say hello to some of you guys there, because I know there's a few in there. Adam Beanie Smith, is Scarlett's garbage not worth staying up for? I won't be staying up for it, brother. I will not be staying up past probably 1 a.m. by the prelims. I've got the kids in the morning on the Sunday, and this is not a card for staying up. Beast Titan agrees with him. The main and the co-main are the only two notable fights. Yeah. Top fella mate with a heart of platinum. I've been watching your videos forever. Ample love and respect. I appreciate that, my man. I really do. Coming on 10 years next year, guys. That's kind of serious amount of time. Quick question that I'm starting to ask MMA Cappers here on YouTube. If you had to bet your full bankroll on a single bet for UFC 277, what would that be? It might be the very next one I'm about to talk of here. And I don't know whether it's because I'm a massive fan of Alexandre Pantoja, or I just think that this line that I got my minus 150, I think that's a really good line, but there is a couple of little red flags. But I will say, guys, I'm a big fan of Alexandre Pantoja. There's two guys in here I'm very confident on this week. Three of them, actually. Morales is one of them, but he's going to be heavy chalk. Pantoja, now his line is moving up into like the minus 175 mark. And there's another guy further on the card which I like. But the fight in general here, Alexandre Pantoja, Alex Perez in the flyweight division. This is obviously the backup fight for if something was to happen with Morono or Kai Kara France in the co-main. I think Pantoja is due a title shot. I think he's right there. I think that Moreno against Pantoja probably should have been in the fight, in my opinion. Kai Kara Francis had some good wins. Can't deny the guy, honestly. But to me, Pantoja's a guy I think can beat the champion. I think has he beat the champion already? I could be wrong. I might be absolutely thinking wrong here. I might be thinking of Formiga, actually. But I like everything. I like everything Pantoja does. He's a great striker, hits hard, can get hit a little bit himself, can have his hands a little bit low, which I don't like. Great on the ground, great back control, great triangle. So once he gets you in that, it's very hard to get away from the position that he is putting you in. And he's got the jiu-jitsu skills to take you out as well. He's one of the guys that I've loved watching since they brought in the flyweight division. One of my favourite guys. Perez is tough, but to me, I just don't see him as the top caliber guys in that division. You've got your Morenos, your Davison Figueiredos. I think Manel Cap's going to be in that top 5 if he's not around there already. Pantoja is one of those guys. There might be someone else that I'm missing out in there as well, but I like Pantoja here. I think that there could be a couple of sticky spots in the fight. Maybe Perez will try and grapple, clinch up a little bit, play it dirty. But to me, I think once this fight hits the ground, I think the submission's going to be there. I think that he's going to get the back of Perez or get in a guillotine and catch him with something. And I think that he could take him out via submission. That's going to be my official play. It's Alexandre Pantoja to win via submission in the second round. I think he gets it with a rear naked choke. I bet him at minus 150. I really like that line. Like I said, it's moved completely up to like minus 163, minus 175, even a little bit higher. I've seen on some different books. Perez, like I say, some of the things I do like, I think he has good low banging leg kicks, and when he decides to put it all together, accumulating his strikes to his grappling, just like chain wrestling, like chain it all together, going at you with the hands and then getting the grappling going, then I think he's very dangerous. But I just don't see him as one of the massively top caliber guys at the top of that division. I think Pantoja is. No disrespect to Perez, because he's a guy that I've liked to watch fight over the years. But I'm a Pantoja guy. I think he wins, and I think he wins via submission. So that question that you ask, I think Pantoja is who I would empty my bankroll on, if that. But there's also a guy in the next fight that I really like, and I think he's a dark horse of the division. We've got Derrick Lewis against Sergei Pavlovich. If you've not guessed already, I'm on the Pavlovich side. I've bet him already as well. I got him at dog odds at plus 110. Like I say, everyone's going on about Tom Aspinall, and that was horrible what happened last week. I really think this guy could be the dark horse of the division. Big power, big reach. I think that he puts all together very, very well. We've seen that with his wins. I do have some things that I want to see a little bit more of, because I think predominantly every one of his fights, he's finished, or his wins specifically, even his losses, he's got taken out, and the one loss, Overeem took him out. What is he like in round number 2, round number 3? Will that power continue to still be there in the late rounds? Will he gas? I want to know about his gas tank. But for me, I think Derrick Lewis, what really has he got left to accomplish in the UFC? I think the guy with the most knockouts in the division. He's fought for the belt a couple of times. He's entertained his home state of Texas many times, entertained the fans in most of his fights all over the world, whether it be in New Zealand or wherever it may be, Canada. What is really at stake, and what is he fighting for, and what's his motivation? And that's what kind of gets me with this fight here. And the fact that Pavlovich has got knockout power, I think that Derrick Lewis can be hurt. I think he can be hit to the body. I think he can be knocked out. We've seen that now in numerous fights. And the pressure of him fighting in Texas predominantly gets to him as well. So there is some things on the Pavlovich side I do want to see a little bit more. I wouldn't mind if this goes into the second round. We see if he can establish a pace, keep to that pace, how much his striking is going to be, how decent it's going to be, is his output going to be okay. But for me, when I seen Pavlovich and I watched some fights and seen he was a dog, I was like, I'm over this. And he is a popular dog. I've got some buddies that are on him as well. You'll see MMA Cappers on YouTube, pretty much the same. YouTube on Twitter as well, that are pretty hefty on Pavlovich. I think it's the side, but the line looks like it's going to flip. So if you're a Derrick Lewis guy, you might get him at dog odds, and it might not be the worst bet. It's like, what's his motivation going to be? So to me, I'm on Pavlovich. I think he knocks out Derrick Lewis in the first 2 rounds, probably a first round knockout. Pavlovich is the side for me there. Co-main event of the night, we've got Brandon Moreno against Kai Kara-France for the interim flyweight championship of the world. Brandon Moreno was the former fully blinging champion of the UFC when he beat Figueiredo, and then obviously lost his belt back again. I thought they were going to maybe make that 4th fight, but I think it's smart kind of having a break between them, because that must be a lot, just focusing on one guy all the time. And this is actually a rematch from 2019, I believe, where I hadn't watched that fight in a couple of years. And for some reason, I thought that Moreno really mixed it up well. And then I went back and watched it and was super surprised when I seen that he outstruck Kai Kara-France in that fight. He was the better striker entirely that night, which is a little surprising considering that is really the bread and butter of Kai Kara-France, is him and his striking. He's usually the more potent striker, more output. That's how he'll win his fight. Stop takedowns, win with his striking. But Moreno came out there, outstruck him that night, looked fantastic, really mixed up with leg kicks. And I think he just kind of shot Kai Kara-France a little bit. I think this is the time now. Moreno, he's moved camps. He's fights out in the US now with Glory, with James Krause there. I don't think they're going to have that same game plan where he's going to come out for 5 rounds and look to strike with Kai Kara-France, because Kai looks like he's on the most comfortable he's ever been in his career, most confident, beat former champions. He beat Cody Garbrandt. So his confidence is sky high. He wants to add another belt to that City Kickboxing team down there in New Zealand. For me, I think Moreno can absolutely mix it up here. I think he can get takedowns. I think he can get minutes on the ground where he can get in that body triangle, which I mentioned with Pantoja before. I think that he's dangerous. He's the guy there that I think would finish the fight more. I think he could probably hurt Kai Kara-France on the feet a little bit, but I ultimately think he can submit him, and I think he can win a decision. I think he can outstrike him like we've seen in the first fight. I know every fight is different, but for me, I am looking to play Brandon Moreno in a parlay. I think it's a tough card to actually parlay people together in this one, so I might look to put them together with a prop, like a fight doesn't go the distance, if I can find one of those. But I kind of got burned with that last week with Jai Herbert and Kyle Nelson, so I'm a little bit skeptical about that. I was going to put him with Farid Basharat, but I thought I wasn't too sure on that either. My pick's going to be Brandon Moreno. I think he gets the interim belt here. I think he opens himself up to another Davison Figueiredo fight if Figueiredo wants that fight, which I probably wouldn't be, because I'd maybe be leaning on the Moreno side if that ever happened again, depending where the odds are. So Brandon Moreno, I should say, is going to be my pick in that one there. I think he wins. I think a late stoppage is in play via submission. But ultimately, I think decision is going to be the play there. And the main event of the night, we've got Juliana Peña defending a UFC bantamweight champion against the GOAT of the women's, fighting pretty much over the last however many years, like 7-8 years that the UFC have had women in there, even beforehand. And Amanda Nunes, who is the featherweight champion, we should mention that, even though it's not really a kind of noteworthy thing. She's looking to get her belt back here. And like I say, that fight, the first fight was, I think everybody was obviously super confident in Nunes. There was very little people I seen on the Pena side. There was a couple of, I know you're out there, I know you'll be watching though, because you still remind me about it in the last couple of days. But yeah, it was just interesting that fight in general. So Nunes won that first round, but you could see that, I don't know whether she didn't take the fight seriously enough, she didn't train enough, whether there was ongoing things with obviously having a kid, with the gym now, and that she's not an American top team anymore. There might have been things happening that we didn't know about, still don't know about, because she's not fighting out American top team anymore, which is rather interesting. So I'm interested to see what her training's like, literally hearing about that through the week. And Pena took a bit of a beating in some of the spots there, but she her will never left her. She believed entirely that she was going to beat Amanda Nunes. If you go back and listen to her during that fight week, she was so clear-minded of how she was going to win that fight, and she was going to like shock the world, and she didn't. I didn't expect it. I would never have pegged that down. I thought that was, I don't want to say it was going to be one of Nunes' easier fights, but I thought this was one that she was ultimately never really going to be in too much danger. But you were watching that fight through the first round, and I was just like, oh, I don't like the look of the way her body language was. You could see her physically like breathing just a lot heavier. Now, from what I've seen from pictures, she looks in phenomenal condition. She looks ready to go. She looks ready to get this belt back. Obviously, they've been on the tough season. I've not watched anything of tough for the first time ever, actually. This is the only one I've really ever not watched. So I don't know what's been going on between them, if there's been a lot of hijinks there. I have to lean with Amanda Nunes. I do, but I have red flags because I want to see, like, just not being an American top team, not having like Conan Silveira in our corner, who's a massive, well, I'm guessing he's not going to be in a corner. He could be, but having the influence of him being there, I think is massive. When you look at both girls, she is the better fighter between them. Juliana Peña is a dog, like she is. She's an absolute dog that is not going to stop until you put her out. So I'm a little bit interested to see, and I know there's people on Juliana Peña that are betting those big dog odds. I wish you all the very, very best. I can't get on the side with you. I'm on Amanda Nunes. I think she stops her in the first round and gets her belt back. But would it surprise me, honestly, that Peña comes out here and just wears out Nunes and takes her out again? No, but I'm interested to see. Again, I was talking about motivation with Derrick Lewis. What is the motivation for Amanda Nunes? She's really did everything. She's literally did everything. She's won 2 belts. She's beat some of the biggest girls in the sport. She is the best of all time. So what does she have to really give? What more does she have to give to the UFC? She doesn't really have to give anything, but she gets paid pretty well, so I can see why she'd be coming back here. So motivation of getting that second belt back, getting that belt back to have 2 belts again is obviously there for her. I'm going to take Nunes via stoppage early. She is very parlayable, and that's, I look at that line, I'm thinking, I really want to parlay, but I'm still not sure. It might be something I do, but I've kind of been getting burned on my parlays recently, my 2-team parlays, but I have been making some pretty bad parlays when I look back at them. Amanda Nunes, I'm going to go late first round TKO, but I'm just interested in that fight in general. So that's my picks for UFC 277, guys. If you're still there, if you've not thrown a like on the video, I'd very much like to think that you would throw in there and help a brother out. I can see you guys in the chat there. Jamie the Drunk, hope you're well. Alex Ramirez, Papa Chunk, Connor Lodge, hope you're all very, very well, guys. Until next week, I think, are we back with Jamal Hill, Thiago Santos? I think that's where we're back with next week. Until next week, guys, all the very, very best with your bets, DraftKings, wherever it may be. Leave a comment down below if you've got any questions. You can come and message me on Twitter if you ever need to speak about anything. Until then, guys, all the very, very best. Take care and enjoy UFC 277 when it comes around.